Hi everyone, here we go. It feels like it's been forever. It has been 2 weeks. So we did cardiovascular, now we're gonna get into blood. This particular chapter is blood and lymphatic, and really again, we're just doing an overview and we're focusing on the medical terms. Okay, so learning outcome, the primary functions, let me move this over. Functions, organ structures of blood, lymphatic. 4 blood types, we'll talk about them and why are they important. Functions of the lymphatic system, what's the immune system, especially right now, understanding immunity. Of course, terminology, medical words, and drugs highlighted in the chapter. Some tools, lab tests, abbreviations. All right, so let's get into it. So what is blood? Blood and lymph. 2 of the body's main fluids circulated through 2 separate systems. Okay, so the blood, cardiovascular, cardio, heart, vascular vessels. Blood is what's circulating in the cardiovascular, okay? So there's nutrients, there's waste, there's oxygen, there are electrolytes, there are blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, so all of that stuff's in there. Now, when the vessels get to the capillaries, the smallest parts of the vascular system, fluid leaks out of blood, and then it goes between the tissues, and it's called interstitial tissue. Now, that can get picked up into the lymphatic system. And so lymphatic system, they're closed-ended tubes, and the lymph fluid goes back and then gets dumped back into the circulatory system. So, and lymphatic, it has to do with actually 3 things really. Getting that fluid back. It has to do with lymphatic actually absorbs fat from the digestive tract. And of course, lymphatics involved in immune system and immunity, your body's way fighting against foreign invaders. Okay. So blood is circulated by the action of the heart through the circulatory system. All right, we talked about. Lymph does not actually circulate. So they're closed-ended tubes and the fluid goes in and then goes back and then gets dumped into the circulatory. It says it's propelled in one direction away from its source through larger lymph vessels, drain into the large veins of the circulatory, and now we're back into the circulatory system. The fluid is back into the circulatory system. So what is blood? Blood really, actually the next picture shows it better, so I'll focus on that, but it shows here what is blood. Lymphatic, right? It says transports protein fluid, protect, and absorption of fat. So those were the functions. And then in this chapter, they talk about some major organs. So the spleen is a major organ for red blood cell destruction. Filter, removing microorganisms. Tonsils, we've heard of the tonsils, yes? They're kind of like big, large lymph nodes. They filter the bacteria. Thymus, I don't know if you've heard of the thymus, essential role in formation of antibodies, immune response, makes T cells. T cells are a type of white blood cell. That's part of your army to defend against foreign invaders. Okay, so what is blood? So fluid containing plasma, formed elements and plasma, transports gases, chemical substances, blood volume. A person, a normal, quote, average person, blood volume about 5 liters. Think of a liter, think of a Coke bottle. It's a 2 liter. So 5 liters would be 2 Coke bottles and a half, right? So an average person has about that much blood in their body. So the formed elements in the plasma, I'm going to look at this picture because I really like this picture. So if you take, they put a tourniquet, yes. Why tourniquet? Well, and where do they get blood from? Veins. The veins are bringing blood back to the heart. Okay, so the blood's coming back this way. When you put a tourniquet, it helps the blood pool. So that's why the vein kind of pops out. And then here you see the needle and they're pulling or aspirating of the blood, right? Withdrawing the blood. Putting it in a test tube, putting it in something called a centrifuge. What a centrifuge does is it spins the blood and the heavier things go down, okay? So the cells move to the bottom of the tube. So the red blood cells, the platelets, all the white blood cells, okay? Well, here are the red blood cells, excuse me. There's this part called the buffy coat that has the platelets and the white blood cells. Then the stuff on top, that's the plasma. Plasma is almost completely made out of water. It's like 91% water. And then the other stuff like proteins, lipids, the gases, and so on. So if I go there, 45% of the blood is the cells. So if I go back, 45% of this, right, are the cells, the formed elements. Erythrocytes, those are the red blood cells. Thrombocytes, those are the platelets. And leukocytes, those are the white blood cells. A good way to think about it, they're red blood cells. They're carrying oxygen and carbon dioxide. Thrombocytes, platelets, they're involved in blood clotting. Leukocytes, those are the white blood cells, they're involved in immunity. Then the rest of it, 55%, is the plasma, okay? And the plasma has, again, water and then electrolytes and hormones and so on. So here shows you, right, what I just said. Red blood cells, thrombocytes for blood clotting, leukocytes for body's defense system, invasion. There are different types of white blood cells. I do not expect you to know their functions, okay? If you took an anatomy physiology class, for sure you need to know their functions. But they have different jobs. But all of them are playing a role in defending yourself, defending your body against foreign invaders, okay? So we just went through this picture, a really good picture. All right, so giving you some information about blood formation, so kind of really neat there. Some more about blood vessels, the formed elements, okay? So here, going into the erythrocytes, the red blood cells, approximately 5 million erythrocytes per cubic millimeter of blood, lifespan of 80 to 120 days. Your red blood cells have a lifespan of about 3 months, okay? And they're made in the bone marrow, okay? And then they're broken down in the spleen, and you keep making new ones, okay? So it says formed in the red bone marrow. So here they are, those beautiful red blood cells. They almost look like little jelly donuts where the inside's like flat, okay? Here are the leukocytes, the white blood cells, right? And again, they all have different jobs. Some attack the foreign invaders specifically. Some are involved with inflammation. Some are involved with making antibodies. Those are tags, tag the foreign invader. The platelets, again, they're involved in blood clotting. Blood clotting, usually you think of clots in a bad way. You're like, oh, clots are bad. But no. Clots are actually important. If a vessel breaks, you need to mesh it and fix it. And that's what a blood clot does. So the platelets are involved with that. So thrombocytes, platelets, okay, disc-shaped, important role in clotting, okay, fragments of giant cells, okay. So here's a beautiful picture. You're like, Miss Collins, beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful. So if there's a cut, right, and the blood vessel is torn, well, the platelets will like go there, right? And there are fibers also that go there, and they make like a mesh, and that mesh fixes that torn vessel. So really important, okay? Leukocytes, white blood cells, right? Body's main defense against invasion of pathogens. Approximately 8,000 leukocytes per cubic millimeter of blood. So if someone has an infection and they take their blood, they'll see there's more white blood cells, okay? And that might be a sign of infection. If you've ever looked at blood, when they take blood, they look at different things, and the different things like how many red blood cells. Like if they're low in red blood cells, that might mean anemia. They can look at the iron. They can look at the white blood cells, the different types of white blood cells, which could say different things about what the person might be fighting. Neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, lymphocytes, monocytes. So again, they all have specific jobs with immunity, with your body's ability to fight, okay? So lymphocytes, responsible for specific defenses against invading pathogens, foreign proteins. Now, people have different blood types, A, B, AB, and O, okay? It's all determined by genetics, okay? And what's the difference between A, B, AB, and O? It's a protein that's found on the surface of the red blood cell. So if someone has blood type A, they have a certain protein A. If someone has blood type B, they have a certain protein. AB, they have both, A and B. And O has none of those. Why do we care? Why does it matter? If someone, I wish they had another picture where they showed you the red blood cells, but anyway, if someone has blood type A, if you give them blood type B, the blood type B, the red blood cells have different proteins on them. The person with blood type A will recognize this as foreign. And what it will do is it will attack that blood. And then that can cause, so it says plasma antibody, they have anti-B. And what will happen is their blood will attack the blood B, and then they can go into shock and they can actually die. So with blood, it's really important, you know, if someone's going to the hospital, if they're bleeding, if they're having surgery, whatever the case may be, and if they need a blood transfusion, it's really important to know what is their blood type. There's the A, and then there's that positive and negative. The positive and negative is another factor called the RH factor. They either have it or they don't. If they have it, they're RH positive. If they don't have it, it's RH negative. So 41% of the population, look at this, go there, 41% has blood type A. And they can get blood from people who have blood type A. They can also get blood from people who have blood type O. Because a person with blood type O has neither of those proteins, so they're the donor, and they can be considered a universal donor. A person with blood type B makes anti-A, only 10% of the population. They can get blood from B or O. A person with blood type A and B, they have both of those protein markers, A and B, so they don't make the antibodies for A or B. Rare, 4%. They can get blood from anybody, from A, B, AB, or O. Now, someone with blood type O, they don't have A or B proteins on their red blood cell. They make antibodies for A and B. Look at this, 45%. So it's the largest percent of our population is blood type O. They can only get blood from blood type O. The reason why they don't have those proteins, so they only can get it from someone that's also O that doesn't have those proteins. But a person with blood type O can give blood to anybody, so they're considered a universal donor. A person with blood type AB can get blood from anybody, so they're considered a universal recipient. And again, there's the RH factor. A lot of people have that RH factor. It's another protein on the red blood cells. You have it or not. So someone could be A positive or A negative, B positive or B negative. The negative people don't have that other extra protein called the RH factor. It was discovered with rhesus monkeys. It means nothing to you, but if a woman is RH negative, it's very important to know, because if she has a baby, if she's RH negative and she has a baby who's positive, the baby could be positive, because remember, a baby, you know, gets genetic information from mom or dad. If the baby's RH positive, that means it has this extra protein on the red blood cell. And during delivery, there's bleeding, right, between mom and baby. If the mom's immune system recognizes those factors, the mom's immune system will build a response towards it. And if mom gets pregnant again, the immune system will recognize the RH positive and it will attack. So it can attack the second baby and it can cause miscarriage. So knowing if a woman's RH negative is important. So transfusion, they talk about that. So plasma, the fluid portion, 55% of the total volume, 91% water. The rest are like electrolytes, proteins, fats, so on. Okay, the 4 major plasma proteins. All right, we're going to stop here, and then we're going to have another video, and it's going to be on lymphatic All right.